one of the guys that get a lot of credit is Steve Blackman from Muscular Development. I mean, those guys have done an extraordinary job for years and years and years to promote health, to promote fitness, to promote strength, to promote bodybuilding, powerlifting, weightlifting, and all of those kind of things. So the contributions they made is gigantic, and I hail them for that.
Ron Harris here from MuscularDevelopment.com. Coverage of the Arnold Sports Festival brought to you by High-Tech Pharmaceuticals, joined by my partner in crime, Giles Tiger Thomas, all the way from the UK. We just wrapped up judging on day 2 of the Arnold Sports Festival here, the IFBB Pro League events. The divisions we covered today were Pro Wheelchair, Men's Physique, Bikini, and of course, the Arnold Classic. So let's go quickly through the other divisions, if you don't mind. Harold Kelly won. They actually had the finals and the judging for Pro Wheelchair. His 5th consecutive title. Looked great. Congratulations, Harold.
19th pro win.
19th pro win. And I think he only lost one show for whatever reason. Yeah, so he's very dominant in wheelchair. Bikini, top 3, based on the final call-out, was... This is no surprise, guys. So we had the reigning Arnold Classic champion, Janet Leog, the reigning Olympia champion, Elisa Piccini, and 3-time Olympia champ, Angelica Teixeira, all up there. I have no idea which one of them is going to win. They're all so gorgeous.
Well, I really like Elisa Piccini. Piccini. Okay. Yeah, I think she was a standout for me at the Olympia, and I really, really like her look. I love that waist from the side, looks absolutely incredible. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, moving right along. Men's Physique, no surprise here. It's going to come down to 2-time Arnold Classic champ and reigning Arnold Classic champ Andre Ferguson, former Olympia Men's Physique champ Brandon Hendrickson. Got to give a special mention to Carlos De Oliveira, Keke, from Boston. We're talking about the division. The division's changing, and maybe not in a good way. The guys are looking more and more like bodybuilders. Somehow they're keeping their waist very tiny, but they're getting bigger and harder, and a lot of them are starting to hit like bodybuilding poses as they're up there, which the whole point of Men's Physique was it was supposed to be like a beach body, a really athletic look. It wasn't supposed to be really big and muscular and striations, but that's definitely where it's at now.
The backs are getting bigger, the calves are getting smaller. Yeah. But no, seriously, like some of the backs I saw were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I was thinking they just look like stick some classic trunks on and they'd be good classic bodybuilders. Yeah. But Brandon Hendrickson, I quite liked his look. Yeah. I think he was a little bit smaller than he was a couple of years ago, so he's applying the kind of downsizing principle, which I think really suits his physique. But Carlos, again, he's a little bit smaller, but for me, that is Men's Physique. Right. Men's Physique. I like Andre Ferguson. I thought he was good. Very, very good.
Lucky Libra, Andre. One final note, and I'm going to get shit on for this, but guys, I got to say what's on my mind. I don't know why they bother having the board shorts. Just have pants, because there's so little calf development in Men's Physique. They're definitely not judging people down for having very poor calves, so I don't know why they even show the calves.
I saw a guy with smaller calves than me.
Yeah, I mean, come on. All right, guys, sorry about that, but I had to say what I had to say. Now let's move on to the big event. We had the Arnold Classic. This was the most anticipated Arnold Classic in many years, and it did not disappoint. Some of the people we had hoped would be in great shape did not. I'm gonna talk about everybody for a second. Josh Lenardowitz from Australia. Josh had health issues. I don't know if he's still, you did the interview, I haven't heard it. I don't know if he's still having some kind of health issues, because this was not the Josh Lenardowitz I'm used to seeing. Condition was just way off. Fullness wasn't there. I felt for the guy, because I'm sure he trained hard, dieted just as hard, but something's not responding. He's not looking the way he should look.
It's easy for us to say he shouldn't have done this show, but he's done it. He was downsized. He wasn't in his best condition, but I just want to see him back at his best. I mean, I don't know, why did he do the show? I mean, if he's still having health problems, why did he do it? I mean, it's great to see him up on stage, but do we want to see him even worse than he was last year? I mean, he's a size guy. And if he's not big and he's not shredded, he's not gonna. I mean, he's out of the top. He was third. He was last third call out. Yeah. So he's out of the top 10.
Yeah. Victor Martinez. Victor was bigger for sure than he was last year. Last year he was a lot more detailed. He was bigger. How dare you disagree with me? Detailed, wasn't quite where to the point it was from last year with the glutes, the hams, and all that. Very, very impressive from the front and the side. Got second call out, which is better than he did last year. I thought he looked damn good.
I couldn't make my mind up about Victor. I kept changing my mind. Like, I looked at his side chest and I was thinking, well, that's as good as he's ever looked. Front double bicep, when he came up by himself, it was like, Even, that's like his signature pose, the front double bicep, the V shape. And kind of the audience was quiet. But his condition was good. But I don't know, I kept changing my mind. I kept thinking, 1 minute I thought he looked fantastic, and the next minute he was a disappointment, So, but I'm glad that, because last year he was 4th call out, and I don't think he deserved that.
No.
But I was happy to see him in that. So I said yesterday, I think I said to you guys, I said I just want to see him in that 2nd call out. He won't make 1st call out, but I just want to see him get a good look and at least get a good comparison. So I'm glad he got the 2nd call out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Johnny Jackson on the comeback after almost 3 years. It was over 2 years, almost 3 years away from 2017. So it's been a while. And I don't know if he needs to do a couple more shows to get his groove back with conditioning, because from the front he looked pretty good. Once he turned around, way off. From the back, he needed like another 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks. It's just very soft from the back, especially the lower body.
He was one of the guys like Sergio. When he first came out, I was like, she looks pretty good. But then he started posing, and it was a bit of a disappointment. The upper body was still... there's no sort of signs of deterioration in his upper body. Still as big as he's ever been. But like I said, I was actually at the Arnold Europe in 2017 when he did his last contest then, and he said that was it. He was done. It was nice to see him back up there, but again, the lower body wasn't great.
Okay, now some good news. Someone who looked really, really good was Hakeem Williams. This might have been the best I've ever seen Hakeem for years now. He's getting better and better. Huge, detailed, dry, condition was so on point. I'd still want to see a little more Christmas in the back. I want that back a little more detailed, but it's getting better. He's getting closer and closer every time.
He's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I love his shape. From the front, the side shots, I was saying to Steve, the side shots had my jaw hanging. Absolutely incredible. The condition was good from the side. The front, the condition was good. There's always room for improvement, but like you said, I think the biggest disappointment is when he hits that rear double bicep, because he has got a pretty good back, but there's just no detail, there's no definition. But he's just, from the front, my eyes were drawn to him perhaps more than anybody else on that stage, because he was so big. He looks like a cartoon. He looks like he's been drawn, like a cartoon character. But he must have been, if he was 260 at the Olympia, 260 here last year, out of shape, 260 at the Olympia, in shape, he must have been close to 260. He looked like he was close to 265.
I believe he was heavier than that from what he was
really,
in the interview.
I could see 270.
In the interview that we did, meet and greet, I believe he was going to be over 270, something like 270,
I believe
somewhere in that range, 270,
I just
272.
thought maybe because he was in good condition, I thought maybe it'd make him look bigger, but he did physically look a lot bigger this time. I just wish he would just tidy up the conditioning so his conditioning is consistent from all angles.
Okay, if you guys are ready to watch us disagree, here we go. Cedric McMillan. Giles didn't think he looked... I thought he looked better than Giles thought. He was definitely sharper than when he won this 3 years ago in 2017. Was he... Here he goes.
What?
Okay, well, this is my opinion.
Okay.
I thought he looked really good. He could have been much sharper for sure. I go by the shape, the structure. It's an incredible physique. He wasn't that far off in my eyes. You didn't think he belonged in the top 6. I would have had him for sure 6th, 7th at the very worst. Condition, that's the only knock, but it's the knock we always have with Cedric.
I think he needs new glasses, mate. Seriously.
These are pretty new.
I think he needs some new glasses. Though.
Damn it.
I'm a huge Cedric fan. I don't think he deserved first call out. I think this is actually the worst I've ever seen him.
What?
This is by far the worst I've ever seen. Smaller, softer. I don't think he even belonged up there. I'm a huge Cedric fan. I mean, we were saying the other day, we were thinking if he came
at the Olympia, he was way worse at the Olympia a few months ago.
At the prejudging, no, he was worse. He's worse here today.
Wow, okay.
Worse. No, because at the Olympia, he really pulled it back for the finals on the second day. I'm hoping he can try and do something for the night show, but he was small, he was soft. It was just, I'm going back. I'm thinking about how he looked at the Arnold Australia last year,
okay.
how he looked here last year, because he always seems to look really good at the Arnold. Yeah. He blew it at the Olympia last year because obviously got the special invite, and I think it was like a last minute thing. So I can give him a buy on that one. But for this, I was disappointed because we were talking the other day about whether we could. Yeah, he's nodding. We could see whether, if he came in at his best, whether he could win it.
Yeah.
So for me, I was surprised to see him first call out.
Okay. Sergio Oliva Jr. Haven't seen this guy in a year and a half. We were all eager to see what changes he had made. He definitely improved. The areas he needed to bring up were his chest and especially his back. Back is definitely a work in progress. I want to see more back thickness, more back detail on him. Because from the front, he's a lot better. He's a much better bodybuilder from the front and the side. It's catching up. Condition was pretty good. I would have liked to see much sharper condition out of Sergio, but I don't know if they decided to go for just bigger and fuller, or what the strategy was. But still, he's better than he was a couple years ago, but not as detailed as he was in 2018.
I'm very impressed with Sergio. I think he's really improved his physique. I think he was bigger. I thought his condition was good.
Okay.
Certainly in his side shots, I was looking around his arms and shoulders, and the skin was very, very thin. I thought the detail was good. When he first came out, he really impressed me. And then I was impressed, but not as much as when he first came out. Because when he first came out, was he stood next to Ramy?
I think so.
He was stood next to Ramy, and he didn't look small next to Ramy.
No, you're right. He was right next to
That
Ramy.
was a huge. I was like, wow, if he can look big next to Sergio and not look tiny, not like the guy's 50 pounds heavier, that's impressive. No, I'm really impressed. I think he's made a real step up in terms of his progression of his physique, his conditioning. I'm looking forward to seeing his posing routine. And like you said, the thing is, a lot of the guys, they can change a lot between now and the night show. So
it's only about 4 or 5 hours in this case.
Yeah, I'd like to see a bit of a more sheen on him as well. I looked at, there was not like enough oil on him and stuff. It was I don't think it was highlighting his condition enough. Maybe he needs some tan or something. Yeah. But it's because it wasn't really, because if you actually look closely, his condition was good. His glutes, his hams, they were all very tight. Yeah. So I'm very impressed. I think he's going to do well tonight. I think he's going to do well.
Max Charles was another good surprise. Max Charles really brought the condition. I've seen him in really great shape several times, but I think this might have been close to the best I've ever seen Max. He brought a great package tonight. He's somebody a lot of people weren't really discussing in their previews, and he's not going to be in the top 5 because it was a tough show this year, but very impressed with Max. I thought he did a great job.
Absolutely over the moon. Absolutely. To be honest, this is the best Max Charles. As soon as he came out, I saw his midsection. All his intercostals and the veins and everything was so dry. The skin was paper thin. For me, he was absolute. This is because I think he was messaging AJ, and I think he was getting a bit frustrated because his placings were starting to slip. He didn't look great at the Olympia last year. Maybe he's at that age when we thought he was starting to drop off. So to see him come back like this is an absolute thrill. To me, he's one of the most conditioned guys. He's probably one of the 3 most conditioned guys up there in that contest tonight. Yeah. Phenomenal. I mean, I know I'm dreaming, but I'd love to see him in the top 6, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's maybe going to fall around 8th, but for him, this is a win because of how he looked. Yeah. So he's not going to be top 5, but he deserves a good placing, and I'm pleased he brought a really good package. It means he's back in the game now for future contests.
In my opinion, the best condition was pro debut Morgan Ast from France. Are you disagreeing? Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. He doesn't have a pretty body, structure, shape, and that's God-given. There's nothing he can really do. Big man, probably somewhere north of 280 or 290. Condition was spectacular on this guy. Glutes were like spaghetti strings. It was just dry. Totally etched out detail in this guy. He did everything he possibly could. I don't know if it's going to help him. I think he actually might beat 1 or 2 of the guys here. We'll see. But not a bad pro debut.
Absolutely blown away by that guy's condition. I just think imagine Ramy in that condition. I mean, that's a 6-time Mr. Olympia. Yeah.
So the top 4 guys, kind of a surprise. We knew obviously William Bonac was going to be up there. We knew Dexter Jackson. Big Ramy, we knew as long as he wasn't out of shape or something, he would be up there. Steve Kuklo, who we were like, we hope Steve can get top 4 or 5. He's definitely in the top 4 because they did the last call out with just 4 guys. We'll start with Kuklo. Very impressed. I think he's getting better and better all the time. I think
he was 3% better condition at the Olympia, but he's it's the biggest I've ever seen him. Yeah. I think he's making progression. I think he's a solid lock for 4th place. I was impressed. I thought he looked really good. He was probably one of the best big guys up there, apart from Hakeem. But like I said, his condition was good. But I think the Olympia he was 3% better, 5% better.
Dexter has looked. This is the best I've seen Dexter in a while. Fullness was there. He was dry, tight. The only thing I was wondering about is when he was hitting his ab and thigh, it didn't seem like he could fully contract his abs. I'm not sure what was going on there.
I didn't notice that because that's his signature shot with the intercostals, the way they come in. Yeah. But do you know what? I was really pleased on Dexter. I was pleased to see that his legs were back because there's a couple of times now where you go, his legs are starting to go. 2012, 2018 Olympia, 2019, his legs are starting to go now. It's his age, and he came back and his quads were as dry and as good as I've ever seen him. I spoke to George and I said, George Farah, and I said, George, what? Because he thinks he's obviously he's got Dexter winning it.
Oh, yeah.
But
He's a good coach.
I said his leg. What have you done to his legs? He's always doing the those stimulate machine thing with a.
So he's working out with.
Explain what they are?
Well, anyone who's had like therapy done, they put the little pads on the electrodes, and it's currents of electricity, electromagnetic stimulation, I think it's called. You've never had that done, like at the chiropractors or anything?
No.
Yeah.
No, but I'm telling you, whatever they've done to his legs, it looked absolutely fantastic. I had a bit of a disagreement with George because I said I've seen him sharper from the back, and he said where? I said well, from the front and the side, Dexter was as sharp as he's ever been for me, but from the back and the radial bicep, like the glutes, there was just a little lacking. He's called the blade. He was lacking maybe 5% dryness off his usual condition, but still very impressive. I've got him third.
George, this is for you. This is an impersonation of you, George Farah. I'm telling you, man, Dexter going to win this. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Was that good? Big Ramy. Big Ramy did not disappoint with the big part of his name. 300 pounds, and he looked every pound of that 300 pounds. I know I'm not a huge fan of his shape and structure. To me, his physique doesn't quite flow. It's not a pretty physique in the way that like a Cedric physique is pretty. Oh, we got to talk about Patrick Moore, too. Sorry, is he not on the list? Huh. Why is he not on this list? Well, we know he was in the show.
Yeah, we definitely in the show.
We'll talk about him in a second. But Ramy, midsection looked a little thicker than what I recall. But I don't know if it's going to be, if Bonak's going to be able to get past all that size. Just I know Bonak's got a much prettier physique. The detail is there. I just don't know what's going to happen because I've seen shows go so many different ways over the years. Now, I know you had a couple comments about Ramy.
Ramy, I'm going back on how he looked at the 2017 Olympia when he took second to Phil Heath. For me, that was his best condition. He looked very good at the 2017 Arnold Europe when he beat Bonak, very narrowly. But I was impressed with the bicep, but he looks 2-3 weeks out. Like when he's doing his side chest, like say Max Charles, like the chest is just striated, it's full to bursting. Ramy's is big, but there's nothing splintering, there's no detail. And I like to see detail, and I think if detail on a guy that big is going to be so impressive. I just want to see him a little bit harder again. But I think
we always do. We always want to see him.
His quads are good. His glutes are lean. He's got those areas kind of locked in. But I've been more impressed by his side chest, his side tricep, his radial bicep before as well. Yeah. And he wasn't hitting his rear lat spread either. He wasn't.
One lat was coming out all the way, and the other one wasn't.
He wasn't hitting. I don't know whether it was just cramp or whatever. He just doesn't. Maybe he hasn't practiced his posing enough, But I think I've got him second.
Yeah. I mean that's likely scenario. I think that's how it's going to shake out. William Bonak, who won this 2 years ago, just runner-up at the Olympia. Yeah, he's going to be very, very tough to beat, William. I mean, he just looked phenomenal. Great shape. He's got this muscle density and detail. Reminds me in many ways of Kai Green, one of the greats of our generation. Bonak brought it like we knew he would. I mean, people were talking in his tights on Instagram pictures a month ago. You could see the glute striations. He was in great condition, and he had the fullness, everything he was supposed to bring.
I've seen William sharper. I have seen William sharper. Maybe, like I said, a couple of percent. So maybe he can pull it out for the bag for the night show.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, the Olympia, he was sharp, but he was a little flatter. He was a little smaller.
He was smaller, yeah.
To your eye, did he have his size back?
He's got the size back in the upper body, but the legs are slightly better, but they're still down. They're still not back to their so there is a bit of a discrepancy, which maybe has hurt his symmetry, but he poses it well. But for me, I can see, especially the left leg where he's had the problems, it's 40% back from what it was from the Olympia. Okay. But still, I think he still if he wants to have a chance of really going for the Olympia, I think he really needs to try and fill those legs back out. And maybe it'll take a few more months of training, But I have seen him, because he's so well conditioned, and I'm so used to seeing top to toe complete condition and detail with Williams. So I want to see him sharper.
For some reason, just so you know, I'm not a complete moron. Patrick Moore was not on the list, but he was here and he looked great. Definitely bigger than the Olympia. Sharpness, the condition wasn't what I recall at the Olympia, though.
I'm disappointed with Patrick. Yeah, I think he was much sharper at the Olympia. He was a sensation at the Olympia when he took 10th. He came out, and as soon as I saw him, I thought his legs were soft, and his legs aren't big. So if his legs aren't big, they at least need to be completely shredded. So his upper body was good. There's definite growth there, but there's more of a discrepancy now between his upper and his lower half. So for me, that's the biggest disappointment for me personally, Patrick. And I don't see what he can do now until the night show to really pull that round. So he just needs to hammer those legs if he wants to get if he wants to even qualify for the Olympia, to get to the Olympia. So I'm feeling a bit flat about Patrick, really.
I'll give you my top 5 guys, how I think it's going to go. And I typically do that rather than what I would do if I was a judge. I believe it's going to be first place William Bonac, second place Big Ramy, third place Dexter, fourth place Kuklo, and let's give fifth to, hang on, Cedric. I think he's going to get fifth. That's how I think it's going to happen. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
Give me your top 5.
I've got exactly the same top 4, but I've got Hakeem in 5th.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I would
I'd have
Hakeem's condition was way better than Cedric's for sure. So,
yeah, Hakeem.
That's fair.
For me, he was a much more impressive animal today over Cedric. Cedric, I've got way lower.
Okay.
And I love Cedric. Big fan.
Of course, and it's one of the best physiques we've seen in so many years. Yeah. Well, guys, that is our wrap-up. We're going to be back here for the finals in just a few hours. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, United States. There's going to be finals for those divisions, bikini, men's physique, the Arnold Classic, of course. You're going to have pro strongman tonight. Please check back on our website, musculardevelopment.com. We've got contest photos. We've got play-by-play interviews. We've got all that on our YouTube channel, Muscular Development. Tons and tons of coverage, guys. You don't need to go anywhere else. We got you, okay? For Ron Harris, Giles Thomas, coverage of the Arnold Sports Festival brought to you by High Tech Pharmaceuticals. We'll see you later.